మెసేజ్ రీజాయిన్ కమ్మని.
సార్ ఈ లోపల నేను మాట్లాడినా సార్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ఏమన్నా సార్ వచ్చే లోపల
నేను ఒక మాట చెప్పి
మీరు చెప్పండి సార్.
అంటే మళ్ళీ కంటిన్యూషన్ పోయింది కదా
ఎస్ ఎస్
అట్లా. నమస్తే అందరికీ. ఇది మా 60వ జూమ్ మీటింగ్, అంటే షష్ఠి పూర్తి. ఈ షష్ఠి పూర్తి మా జూమ్ సమావేశానికి మా వక్తగా వచ్చేసినటువంటి డాక్టర్ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారికి మా చరిత్ర బృందం తరఫున ఆహ్వానం. వారు అంగీకరించినందుకు ధన్యవాదాలు. అట్లానే మా ఆహ్వానాన్ని మన్నించి ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొంటున్న ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి పేరున ముందుగా నేను ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాను. ఈ 60 నెలలుగా ఈ కార్యక్రమాలు నిర్వహిస్తున్నప్పుడు తోడ్పడుతున్న వారందరికీ, వక్తలుగా వచ్చిన వారందరికీ కూడా చరిత్ర పట్ల ఆసక్తితో, ఒక కమిట్మెంట్తో ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి కూడా మేము రుణపడి ఉన్నాం, ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ ఉన్నాం. ఇప్పుడు కార్యక్రమానికి ముందుగా ఈ 60 నెలల ప్రస్థానాన్ని గురించి మన కట్టా శ్రీనివాస్, కో కన్వీనర్ కొత్త తెలంగాణ చరిత్ర బృందం, తను మాట్లాడతారు. తర్వాత వక్త గురించి మాట్లాడతారు మన హీమన్ శివనాగిరెడ్డి గారు. తర్వాత వక్త ప్రసంగం ఉంటుంది. అంతా ఒక 10 నిమిషాలు అవుతుంది. దయచేసి మా విన్నపాన్ని అంగీకరించారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. ఓవర్ టు కట్టా శ్రీనివాస్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. గౌరవనీయులైన చరిత్రకారులు, పరిశోధకులు మరియు ప్రియమైనటువంటి చరిత్ర ప్రేమికులందరికీ కూడా నమస్కారం. ఇవాళ ఏప్రిల్ 18 ప్రపంచ వారసత్వ దినోత్సవం. కాలగర్భంలో కలిసిపోయినటువంటి అద్భుతాలను వెలికి తీసి మన మూలాలను వెతుక్కునే ఒక ప్రత్యేకమైన రోజు. ఈ సందర్భాన మన కొత్త తెలంగాణ చరిత్ర బృందం నిర్వహిస్తున్న 60వ మైలురాయి జూమ్ లైవ్ సెషన్కు మీ అందరికీ కూడా స్వాగతం. నేడు మన చరిత్ర బృందం ఈ ఒక అరుదైన ఘట్టానికి చేరుకోవడం ప్రత్యేకమైంది. ఈ 60 సమావేశాలు నిర్వహించుకోవడం అనేది ఒక సంఖ్య అనేదే కాదు, ఇది 5-6 ఏళ్ల అలిపేరగని నిరంతర కృషి, అన్వేషణ. దీనికి మీ అందరి సహకారం ఉండటానికి మొట్టమొదటిగా ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాం. ఇది మన వారసత్వం పట్ల మనకున్న అంకిత భావానికి కూడా ఒక నిదర్శనం. మన ఈ లైవ్ సెషన్ల ప్రయాణం సుమారు మొదట్లో మొదలవడానికి ముందు ఏంటంటే సోషల్ మీడియాలో ఉండేవాళ్ళం, దినపత్రికల వేదికగా చేసేటువంటి పనులు మార్పిడి జరుగుతూ ఉండేది. ఆ కరోనా వచ్చిన సందర్భంలో, భౌతికంగా దూరమైన తరుణంలో ఈ దూరాన్ని ఏదైనా జ్ఞాన సమాచారంతో కూర్చాలనే సంకల్పంతో చరిత్రను ఒక ఆన్లైన్ తరగతి గది రూపంలో అందరికీ అందించాలనే సదుద్దేశంతో ఈ జూమ్ సిరీస్ పురుడు పోసుకుంది. మనుషులు దూరమైన మన చరిత్రను చర్చించుకునే వేదికలు మాత్రం మనల్ని దగ్గర చేస్తూనే ఉంటాయి. సాధారణంగా ఫ్రీ జూమ్ సెషన్ అంటే 45 నిమిషాలకి ఆగిపోతుంది. కానీ చరిత్ర అనే మహాసముద్రాన్ని చర్చించడానికి ఆ సమయం సరిపోదని భావించి అడ్డంకులు లేని చర్చ కోసం పెయిడ్ వెర్షన్ కొనుగోలు చేసి మరి ఈ సమావేశాలు నిరంతరంగా నిర్వహించుకుంటూ వస్తున్నాం. దీంట్లో ఎందరో వక్తలు వారి అమూల్యమైన సమయాన్ని, వారి జ్ఞానాన్ని అందించారు. ఎందరో మిత్రులు వారి అపరూపమైన సమయాన్ని దీంట్లో వెచ్చించి చాలా ఓపికగా ఇవి సక్సెస్ అయ్యేందుకు వారి అపరూపమైన సహకారాన్ని అందించారు. ఈ ప్రయాణంలో మనకు మొదటి నుంచి అండగా నిలుస్తున్నటువంటి భాషా సంస్కృతి శాఖ వారికి కూడా ప్రత్యేకంగా ధన్యవాదాలు. గడిచిన 59 సమావేశాలను గమనిస్తే మనం చర్చించిన అంశాల్లో ఎంతటి వైవిధ్యం ఉందో అర్థమవుతుంది. ప్రొఫెసర్ రామిరెడ్డి గారిది వేరుగల్లతో మొదలైన మన ప్రయాణం 2021లో నాణ్యాల శాస్త్రం, ఇనుము ఉక్కు పరిశ్రమ, రాక్ ఆర్ట్, బౌద్ధం, ప్రాచీన శిలాజాలు వరకు ప్రతి కోణాన్ని స్పృశించాము. ఇప్పుడు కందులు వెంకటేష్ గారు న్యూస్మాటిక్స్ అధ్యయనం కావచ్చు, బండి మురళీధర్ రెడ్డి గారు చిత్రకళ విశ్లేషణ, సుపర్ణమయ్య గారు, ఈవన్ సింహనాగిరెడ్డి గారు ప్రతిమా లక్షణాలు, ఇట్లా మనకి ఎన్నో అంశాలు వచ్చాయి. పుల్లారావు గారు మరియు పగడ నాగరాజు గారు బృహత్శిలాయుగ సమాధుల గురించి చాటి చెప్తే శాసనాల పరిష్కరణ మరియు వాస్తుశిల్పం మీద జరిగిన చర్చలు చరిత్ర విద్యార్థులకు ఎంతో మేలు చేశాయి. ఈ అన్నిటి ఒక ఎత్తు అయితే మరొకటి జిల్లాలన్నిటి చరిత్రని చెప్పుకోవాలనుకోవడం జరిగింది. ఇప్పటికి మనకున్న 33లో 1/3 అయిపోయాయి. 11 జిల్లాలని కవర్ చేసుకోవడం జరిగింది. వనపర్తిని బైరోజ్ బ్రదర్స్ కంప్లీట్ చేస్తే, భద్రాద్రి కొత్తగూడెం ప్రభాకరాచార్య గారు, జనగామ గురించి రత్నాకర్ రెడ్డి గారు, పెద్దపల్లి లోకే రాజపవన్ గారు, జోగులాంబ గద్వాల గురించి రాజశేఖర్ గారు, నిజామాబాద్ ఆనంద్ గారు, నిర్మల్ గురించి మంత్రి శ్రీనివాస్ గారు, ఉమ్మడి వరంగల్ అరవింద్ ఆర్య పక్కడే, మహబూబ్ నగర్ని భీంపల్లి శ్రీకాంత్, ఆదిలాబాద్ని బలగం రామ్మోహన్ గారు కవర్ చేశారు. ఖమ్మంని 50వ సెషన్లో నేను అంటే కట్ట శ్రీనివాస్ని పూర్తి చేశాం. ఇంకా మనకు కవర్ అవ్వాల్సినవి 22 ఉన్నాయి. మిత్రులు దాని మీద కృషి చేసేవారు కనుక ముందుకు వచ్చినట్లయితే ఆ సెషన్స్కి కూడా మన దాంట్లో ఒక అవకాశం ఉంది. హైదరాబాద్, రంగారెడ్డి, మేడ్చల్, మల్కాజ్గిరి, వికారాబాద్, సంగారెడ్డి, మెదక్, సిద్దిపేట, కామారెడ్డి, జగిత్యాల, రాజన్న సిరిసిల్ల, కరీంనగర్, దీని గురించి సాధారణ చరిత్ర కూడా కవర్ అయితే హన్మకొండ, జయశంకర్ భూపాలపల్లి, ములుగు, మహబాద్, సూర్యాపేట, నల్గొండ, యాదాద్రి భువనగిరి, నాగర్ కర్నూలు, నారాయణపేట, మంచిర్యాల, కొమరంభీం, ఆసిఫాబాద్, ఇట్లా 22 జిల్లాలు ఉన్నాయి. ఇవన్నీ చర్చకి రావాల్సిన విషయాలు ఉన్నాయి. అట్లాగే పురావస్తు ఆధారాలే కాకుండా ఇంకా ఓపిక ఉన్నట్లయితే ఎథ్నోగ్రఫీ కావచ్చు, సముద్ర వ్యాపార చరిత్ర కావచ్చు, మ్యూజియాలజీ కావచ్చు, డిజిటల్ ఆర్కియాలజీ కావచ్చు, ఇటువంటి అంశాలలో మన వాళ్ళకి మనందరికీ కూడా ఒక అవగాహన కలిగేలాంటి ప్రసంగాలు సాగాలని కోరుకుంటూ, దాంతోపాటు ప్రసంగాలు ఒకటే కాదు, ముఖాముఖి కార్యక్రమాలు కానీ, వర్క్షాపులు కానీ ఉండాలని అనుకుంటున్నాం. ఒకసారి మనకి ట్రిపుల్ టాక్ జరిగింది శిలాజాల మీద, 3 వేరు రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఉన్నటువంటి వాళ్ళు నుంచి. అదేవిధంగా ఒక కొత్త రకమైనటువంటి పద్ధతిలో మనకి జ్ఞానం అందేలాంటి దానికోసం ప్రయాణం చేసుకుంటూ వస్తున్నాం. మన చరిత్రను సంపూర్ణంగా డాక్యుమెంట్ చేయాలంటే మీ అందరి ప్రోత్సాహం కూడా ఎంతో అవసరం. లేదంటే సహజంగా ఎట్లా ఉంటుందంటే, గవర్నమెంట్ ఉద్యోగులు కనుక 60-61 ఏళ్లలో రిటైర్మెంట్ ప్రకటించాలనుకున్నట్లు వింటున్నారా లేదా, పార్టిసిపేషన్ సరిగా ఉందా అనుకుంటే మనం కూడా రిటైర్మెంట్ ప్రకటించాలని ఒక సందర్భంలో అనిపించింది 60 దాకా వచ్చాక. కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఉన్నటువంటి ఉత్సాహాన్ని కానీ కోఆపరేషన్ కానీ చూస్తుంటే ఈ ప్రయాణం ఇక్కడికి ఆగదు, ఇంకో 60 అయినా సరే ఇట్లాగే నడుస్తుంది అనే ధైర్యం అయితే వస్తుంది. ఈ ప్రత్యేకమైన రోజున మనకు మార్గదర్శనం వహించడానికి అంతర్జాతీయ ఖ్యాతి గణించినటువంటి పురావస్తు శాస్త్రవేత్త డాక్టర్ రవి కోర్సెటర్ గారు వారు ఈ సమావేశానికి అంగీకరించడం కానీ మనతో ఉండడం కానీ మన బృందానికి దక్కిన గొప్ప గౌరవంగా భావిస్తున్నాం. ప్రస్తుతం మీరు అంటే పూర్తి పరిచయం సార్ చేశారు. నేషనల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ అడ్వాన్స్డ్ స్టడీస్లో ప్రొఫెసర్ గాను, బళ్ళారిలోని సంగనకల్ మ్యూజియానికి డైరెక్టర్ గాను సేవలు అందిస్తున్నారు. ప్రాచీన శిలాయుగంపై వారు చేసిన పరిశోధనలు ఇక్కడ అక్కడని కాదని ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా కూడా ప్రశంసలు అందుకున్నాయి. ఇవాళ తీసుకున్న టాపిక్ కూడా చాలా ప్రత్యేకమైంది. బిలసర్గం కానీ జాలపురం తవ్వకాల గురించి కానీ వివరించబోతున్నారు. చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ విషయం. బిలసర్గం గోవులు లక్షల ఏళ్ళ నాటి జీవ వైవిధ్యానికి నిలువుటద్దాలు అయితే, జ్వాలాపురం ఒక పెద్ద విశ్వయం 74,000 ఏళ్ల క్రితం తోబాగ్ని పర్వతంపై వెళ్ళటం, ప్రపంచం చీకటిమయం అయిపోవటం, ఆ నిప్పుల వర్షాన్ని తట్టుకొని మరి మన పూర్వీకుల జాతులు ఎలా ఉన్నాయి, ఈ అన్ని వివరాలు మనకి చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ వస్తాయి. భారత ఉపఖండాన్ని ప్రపంచ మానవ పరిణామ క్రమ చరిత్రలో చర్చల్లో అగ్రస్థానం నిలబెట్టిన ఘనత వీరి పరిశోధనకు దక్కుతుంది. సామాన్యులకు సైతం వారసత్వ సంపదపై అవగాహన కలిగిస్తున్న ఇటువంటి మహోన్నత వ్యక్తి మన ఆహ్వానాన్ని మన్నించి సమయం కేటాయించినందుకు వారికి హృదయపూర్వకంగా కృతజ్ఞతలు. సభికులందరికీ కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇక ఆలస్యం చేయకుండా ఈ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారి ప్రసంగంలోకి వెళ్ళడానికంటే ముందు వారిని కొంచెం లోతుగా పరిచయం చేస్తూ ఈ అంశంపై అవగాహన కలిగించాల్సిందిగా ఇప్పటికే ఒక పనుల ఒత్తిడిలోనూ హడావుడిలోనూ ఉన్నటువంటి మన కొత్త తెలంగాణ చరిత్ర బృందానికి నిత్య శ్రేయోభిలాషి విజ్ఞాన నవయవనులు డాక్టర్ ఈవెన శివనాగిరెడ్డి గారిని కోరుకుంటూ విరమిస్తున్నాను. ధన్యవాదాలు. కట్ట శ్రీనివాస్, కో-కన్వీనర్. సార్ శివనాగిరెడ్డి సార్, ప్లీజ్ హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్. సార్ శివనాగిరెడ్డి సార్ జాయిన్ అయ్యారు సార్, కాల్ చేయను.
సార్ ఉన్నారు కానీ సార్.
హలో
సార్,
కెన్ ఐ టాక్ సార్?
ఓకే సార్.
yes sir, మీ వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుంది.
హలో
ఓకే సార్.
హలో
ఓకే సార్.
సార్ నేను చెప్పచ్చా?
మీరు చెప్పండి
చెప్పండి.
సార్. yes sir, yes sir, yes sir.
మళ్ళీ సార్ టాప్ పోయిందండి, మళ్ళీ రావట్లా.
You can talk sir,
మాకు
please.
వినబడుతుంది.
ఓకే
మాకు వినబడుతుంది. హలో సార్. శివనాగిరెడ్డి సార్,
సరే మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేస్తాను సార్.
is muted.
సార్
He is muted.
అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి సార్, అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి. మ్యూట్ లో ఉన్నారు. హలో
కాదు సార్, మీరు అన్మ్యూట్ చేసి చెప్పండి సార్ ప్లీజ్. చేయలేదు సార్, మ్యూట్లో ఉంది, కనిపిస్తోంది.
మ్యూట్ లో ఉన్నారు సార్. సార్ మాట్లాడండి.
కాదు సార్,
వినపడుతుంది.
కాదు సార్, నా 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 మొబైల్ నుంచి వినిపిస్తోంది, మీరు అందులోంచి వినపట్లేదు సార్, జూమ్ నుంచి వినపడట్లేదు, అన్మ్యూట్ అవ్వట్లేదు. పోనీ ఇట్లా మాట్లాడితే వినిపిస్తుందా సార్? సార్ది
వినపడుతుంది. పెట్టమా, అట్లా
స్పీకర్ లో
మాట్లాడండి.
పెట్టాను, మాట్లాడండి సార్, పర్వాలేదు.
మాట్లాడండి.
ఎస్ సార్.
మాట్లాడండి సార్. అట్టా
సార్ వినిపించట్లేదు మాకు.
సార్ సారీ సార్, వినిపించే సార్. సార్
Let him rejoin once again. His mic will automatically open.
ఓకే సార్.
సార్
అదే ఇదే పెద్ద ఇబ్బంది అయిపోయిందండి ఇవాళ.
There's no need for introduction. It is enough.
Okay, sir. I'm sorry. I am very
Yeah,
sorry.
no problem. You see, it's all formalities we can avoid.
Okay.
You can just
sir.
tell him not to worry, and we can
Okay.
start the program.
కట్టా వీలు
Sir.
కాకపోతే
నా మాట వినిపించట్లేదు సార్, సార్కి ఇంకా
ఇంకా మరి
మాట్లాడేస్తున్నారు.
వదిలేసి
But is he on the line?
ఎస్ సార్, ఈజ్ ఇన్ ఫోన్ లైన్ సార్.
ఫోన్ లో ఉన్నారు, మాట్లాడుతున్నారు, కానీ వీ కాంట్ హియర్ హిమ్. అదే
He's on the move.
సార్ ప్రయాణంలో ఉన్నాడు, అందువల్ల వస్తున్న ఇబ్బంది అది. ఆయనకి సిగ్నల్స్ ఏవి
సార్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ అవసరం చేసింది అంటారు కదా సార్.
ఉండని కట్ట వీలైతే అది రికార్డ్ అయితేనో అది రికార్డ్ చేసి పెట్టుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది.
సరే సార్.
ఓకే సార్. ఐఎమ్ వెరీ సారీ సార్.
Don't worry.
Could not make
No, I'm happy without.
Please,
You already introduced me. The
sir,
same
sir.
information he will also.
Okay, sir. Okay, please.
Yeah.
We-
Should I start sharing my
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
I'm extremely happy and delighted to be part of this twin program today. One is the 60th lectures on behalf under the auspices of this Kotha Telangana Charitra Rundam. Another is the World Heritage, Day that is being celebrated all over the world. So this is very great coincidence. In fact, as I discussed with you, it was scheduled for tomorrow, but when I realized that it is going to be World Heritage Day, I requested you to prepone it for 18th of April and so on. So I'm delighted to share my experience here.
Yes, sir.
My work in Andhra Pradesh, especially in the Kurnool and Kadapa regions, will be of great relevance and also interest to all of you. And deliberately, I selected this topic because in the last 1 year, I have made extensive efforts to make sure that the sites which I'm going to describe today will be subject to. Others should mute their mics. Somebody's mic is on, and I request the participants to close, mute their mics. That will be, it also help us communicate better and more clearly.
Yes, sir. Just I have done that work.
Okay, thank you.
All others are muted
You
and they are
control.
unable to unmute.
Right. So as I was telling, since 1 year, I've been working very hard, organizing public outreach, contacting people at various levels to make sure that these are the two iconic sites in Andhra Pradesh which deserve to be maintained for posterity because they hold in their belly lot of information which has not been brought to light as yet. Whatever work that has been carried out at these two sites is only a new beginning, although these sites were one of the sites, that is Villasargam, has been known to us for more than 150 years. The site of Jalapuram has raised several issues, global level issues about human evolution and expansion out of Africa and colonization of the planet and so on. And among all the sites I have seen, where Paleolithic sites are associated with this volcanic ash, this is the best site anywhere in the Indian subcontinent. So it was my utmost concern to make sure that these two sites are preserved, protected, and not subject to any kind of vandalism. And coincidentally, this year's theme of ICOMOS World Heritage Day also deals with the living heritage. But it is not only essential that we should have emergency, steps to make sure that the living heritage does not vanish and disappear from our memories. We also have to think in terms of, the living heritage is inherited from the prehistoric past. And large number of prehistoric sites are now facing destruction and threat of annihilation. If the ICOMOS is worried about, the wars, earthquakes, and then the conflicts which can cause damage, deliberate damage to heritage sites and, heritage that is part and parcel of the living communities, we also have to think in terms of, what we have today as a living heritage or as an archaeological heritage has been inherited from the past. And much of this is a continuity from the past. And there are hundreds and thousands of sites, and amongst them, couple of hundred sites may be of very great importance in terms of their potential for, future archaeological research to go deeper into human past, especially biocultural evolution and peopling of the world and the emergence of civilizations and so on. And we are fortunate that the sites that I'm going to briefly describe in this session today have received the worldwide attention. Villazargam is known since the time of Thomas Huxley as well as Robert Brucefoot, and Jalapuram, that was our discovery, our team's work in that area. But the results were, so exciting that it opened doors for new debates in Paleolithic archaeology, emergence of modern humans, and then expansion of modern humans out of Africa and peopling of the world and so on. So this is where we have to have a deep time concept to protect our heritage, whether living or the archaeological heritage and so on. With this brief introduction, I would like to share my presentation. Can you see?
Yes, sir. But yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
So, greetings on the occasion of the World Heritage Day celebrations. And I'm extremely happy to make this presentation under the auspices of the Kotha, Telangana Charitra Brindam on the topic, especially the excavations that our team has carried out at Villazargam and Jalapuram in the Kurnool sub-basin of the larger Kadapa basin. As I was just mentioning, these are very, very important sites in the prehistory of peninsular India. And these are the sites which hold great potential for much more, advanced research into the context in which we have recovered Paleolithic archaeological material, either at Villazargam or at Jalapuram and so on. And as I mentioned, ICOMOS's theme for 2026 is emergency response for living heritage in context of conflicts and disasters. And disasters, we know they are all natural and some also man-made. Man-made disasters are, the result of the wars that are going on either in Ukraine or the current war that is going on in Israel, Iran, in the Middle East areas, and also the conflicts which are, a bane to the modern healthy civilizations across the world are also responsible. And there is a deliberate attempt to destroy heritage sites. This is the most unfortunate thing. The conflicts not only kill people, innocent people, but also the past of the people and the past of the civilizations where the people are being subject to, destruction and several other damages that are taking place as a result of the wars that are going on nowadays, especially in the last. So this particular short video gives a clear picture of the nature and extent of the Billasargam cave. This is one of the largest cave complex anywhere in southern India and perhaps anywhere in the Indian subcontinent. This is a karstic cave. This cave has formed in the limestone formation of the Kurnool geological formations. This is a major limestone terrain. It's a complex of 5 openings into the limestone formations. Something is wrong. Something happened.
We are missing your PPT.
Can you see?
No,
That is
sir.
it.
Only we can see you only.
What happened? This Zoom disappeared.
Zoom is
Sharing disappeared, sir. Please share again.
share again.
Okay. Can you see now?
Just it's coming
Yes,
up.
sir. Now it is okay.
What happened? I don't know.
Okay, sir.
Now can you see?
We can see. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is that famous Billasargam cave in the Kurnool sub-basin of the larger Kadapa basin. One of the most exciting, data sets have been recovered from this particular cave since 1880s. And until today, this particular cave holds, a lot of potential for research into the man-land relationships, especially reconstruction of climate and human response and adaptation to changing climatic and ecological conditions in this area. Why I'm showing this particular slide, as I mentioned in my brief introduction, the last 1 year I have been requesting many people belonging to different walks of life in Andhra Pradesh to please visit this cave, because post our investigations in this area, the government tourism department has drastically modified this landscape. This is the kind of emergency, that is now I see necessary for restoring the past glory of this particular cave, because the tourism department has modified the entire cave floor and the cave sites, as well as the pristine condition in which there are these trenches which were there, which were first opened by Robert Brucefoot in 1883-84. They have all been closed, and the entire natural floor, which was partly preserving the human activities going back in time, have now been totally removed from here. This is the kind of conflict inflicted by the modern society. Unfortunate thing, if before modification of this particular cave floor and other areas, filling up the trenches which were previously dug by very, very eminent archaeologists, paleontologists, and geologists, and so on, if they had consulted archaeologists who were working here, they would have given them better ideas to develop this. I have developed a concept to restore this cave to its original glory. And then our investigations, as I will gradually show, has given evidence of hundreds of types, varieties of animals which were living here. And they are all paleontological fossils that have been recovered since Robert Brucefoot's first excavation. And then there are some fossils of monkeys, which were living here, but now extinct in India, but they are now found only in Ethiopian highlands. If these particular cave can be converted into a open air natural history museum, wherein we can, make the tourism department much more relevant to the modern society. Like I made an experiment in Bellary area, that similar destruction of an archaeological site, particularly of the Neolithic and Iron Age, was being destroyed through mining activity. We worked hard to make sure that the mining is stopped, and then we established, a museum to display the kind of information that has been gathered through archaeological excavations. Again, since 1870s, where Robert Brucefoot himself was a pioneer in this area. So this particular cave was discovered by Captain Newbold, who was assistant collector and was representing the Royal Regiment in Madras. And when Huxley, when he was posted as assistant collector in Kurnool, and he was a geologist by profession. He had the habit of going into the interior areas and then try to look for ancient remains, tribal community habitats and so on and so forth. So he chanced upon discovering this particular cave. Following this discovery, he also went towards the Bellary area, and he was the first person to look at the ash mounds, which are part of the Neolithic sites all over Rayalaseema, and made an effort to understand what these deposits were. And subsequently, Robert Brucefoot was the one who laid, gave a scientific framework to archaeological remains in the Bellary area. In the same way, when Charles Darwin's theory of evolution was being debated in the Royal Society, Thomas Huxley, who was an ardent follower of, Charles Darwin, he knew about Captain Newbolt's discovery because he had made a brief description of these caves in the Royal Society journals. And so Huxley thought these limestone caves are the most potential areas for, discovering human remains going back to the remote past. So in this case, he was interested in establishing the theory of evolution as propounded by Charles Darwin. And at that point of time, he thought Robert Brucefoot, who was already reputed for discovering, Paleolithic sites in India, was was identified for conducting archaeological investigations in the cave of Kurnool region and so on. So he requested the governor of Madras, Grand Duff, to depute Robert Brucefoot to investigate the cave at Villasargam and so on. So before Robert Brucefoot could descend onto this particular cave complex, his traverses between Madras and Villasargam were unsuccessful. During the first traverse, he chanced upon a cave which he thought it was Villasargam, but it turned out to be Belum caves. And then the second expedition, he came very close to Yaganti and he found one more cave, and he thought that was Villasargam, but it is now known as Yerrajari cave. Now, the third expedition, he was successful to descend onto this cave complex, and he initiated excavation in 1883-84. But he was called back for duties by the Geological Survey of British India. His son carried forward the excavations of Robert Brucefoot here, and then the material, especially the animal fossils which were discovered from this particular site, were sent to Lydekker at the Asiatic Society in Kolkata, and he gave a detailed report of various types of animals and so on, which I will gradually show. And so this kind of destruction has now caused the greatest damage for the future prospects of investigation into these cave areas, because so far the investigations have not reached the bottom of the cave floor, because cave floor deposits are very, very deep. Sometimes they go up to 20, 30 meters or so. This is the experience in our continental caves in France and elsewhere. So the deeper caves and such huge openings in the limestone are likely to have, preserved evidence of human activity if they were there in the bottom layers of the cave floor sediment. So that is now being sealed for future research. So that is the most unfortunate thing that has happened. I have been in touch with the local leaders, and the minister who was also responsible for modification of this cave floor has also agreed that what damage has been can be recovered under the directions that we would like to offer them to convert this into a natural history museum, open air natural history museum. It is a wonderful concept that will be a model for any natural history museum anywhere in the world. So this will be a unique museum. I have developed a concept. I've shared with people who will be of very help in developing this concept and to a logical end. And very soon I will be meeting some of them. They have already visited the site, and I'm going back to Hyderabad next week and meeting them once again to initiate further steps and prepare a detailed project report so that it is submitted to the government. And then we will have a team of archaeologists, paleontologists, and environmental geologists working together to set up an open air natural history museum. I just want whoever visits this cave, enters the cave and exits the cave, before entering and after entering, he will be a different person. Now I see, whenever I have gone, I see a lot of children coming to this village and this cave area and enjoying their weekend times and so on. But if one can make it an educational center, it will be much more profitable for the visitor as well as the Department of Tourism in Andhra Pradesh and so on. So that is one damage which requires an emergency treatment, according to me. And another situation is this Jalapuram site, which is the unique, volcanic ash site anywhere in India, because there are large number of volcanic sites, that have been documented from river valleys from India to, southern part of Andhra Pradesh, especially in the Kadapa basin and, Western India, Eastern India, elsewhere. So the deposit has not been preserved so well as it has been preserved here. The thickest deposit of volcanic ash, all that entire thickness is not the original deposit, but the bottommost 10 to 15 centimeters is said to be, the original ashfall. But because of the landscape and the conditions in which the ashfall took place, has been subject to what we call emplacement, geological process it is, and that emplacement has given rise to an artificial thickness. But actually, all this ash fell into a shallow lake which existed prior to the ashfall in this area at least 100,000 years ago. This ash is dated to 74,000 years ago, and it is traced to the 74,000 years ago Toba, youngest Toba tuff that originated in Sumatra. The volcanic eruption is said to be highest magnitude eruption that human, in the last 2 lakh or 3 lakh years of time period and so on. And fortunately, the volcanic ash deposit here also has preserved evidence of human presence below the ash as well as above the ash. So that was the most exciting situation for archaeologists to develop theories about human evolution and human expansion out of Africa and so on. But unfortunately, this site also is being subject to large scale mining, because this volcanic ash, people do not know that it is volcanic ash, but they know that it is a potential material for detergent industry. They are mining it extensively and bagging it and sending it to the industries for developing detergent and brasso kind of a polishing material and so on. But what is important for archaeologists and naturalists here is the preservation of this site for posterity, because none other site anywhere in India where volcanic ash occurs has evidence of human presence below and above the volcanic ash. So this is another emergency situation, and we have been successful in convincing the villagers, in convincing the local archaeological officers who made several visits, and then also tried to convince the people not to continue excavation or mining here. But unfortunately, it has not stopped. I was just there a month ago. The same, mining activity is continuing. But you see, this is how it is, dug out and then bagged into these sacks and then transported from here. But this ash will be totally removed from the landscape if it continues to be mined in another 4 to 5 years or so. In the last 25 years, I have seen the greatest damage that can happen to an archaeological site of this kind anywhere in India. And then it's also a region where we have series of rock shelters which have paintings. These rock shelters were known, and the village people were also aware of these rock shelters. And then there are paintings on that. But archaeologists who have been there since 1870s, including Robert Brucefoot, they had not paid attention to the presence of rock art on these rock shelters. But it happened that while we were working at Jalapuram, we discovered hundreds of these rock shelters very close to the modern town, temple town of Yaganti, Jalapuram, Patapadu, and those areas. And each of these rock shelters have paintings. And interestingly, this particular rock shelter where we are was also subject to excavation by our team. And we discovered evidence for, oldest beads, man-made beads of ornaments. And we also have the paintings on the outer wall of these rock shelters. And then fragments of human cranium, and even serial harpoons, which were used for hunting gathering. And then when we applied modern dating methods, we discovered that microlithic tools, which I will show you gradually, were produced as early as 40,000 years ago. Until then, there were a couple of other sites in India which gave an earlier date for microliths in India, because microliths were thought to be not older than about 10,000 years ago or so. But now we know, because of this excavation, microliths go back to 40,000 years. And the other two sites have also given ages going back to 50,000 years. So this is wonderful evidence, to tie up evidence, archaeological evidence with the evidence from outside India, especially Africa and Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia and so on. So that is where the sites like these rock shelters in the vicinity of Jalapuram are also very potential for future research. We have documented rock art, its diversity, its character, and its development through time. In the sense, the phases in the development of rock art and so on. We have indications that this rock art goes back to at least 14,000 years ago. Quite likely they were even older, and that is the most well-dated, absolute date for the rock art anywhere in India so far. They have been only suggesting that rock art in India goes back to Upper Paleolithic times. But then we have a radiocarbon date for the rock art from this particular site, which is called Jalapuram 9 rock shelter, because there are several other rock shelters, and the cave floor, rock shelter floor was excavated, and evidence of microlays, beads, and then serial harpoons, and then human cranial fragments have all been recovered very systematically. And there are some what we call symbolic artifacts and so on. So this entire, nearly 2,000 acres of land in and around Jalapuram and Patapadu happens to be a very, very potential landscape, archaeological landscape, preserving evidence of human presence right from lower Paleolithic into modern times. And many rock shelters in the vicinity of limestone outcrops are also being subject to mining activities. Limestone is mined extensively in this area. Very gradually, these rock shelters also will suffer damage. That is our greatest concern as of today. And then I went, as I said, I took these senior people from Hyderabad, and I explained to them the condition in which the sites are being subject to vandalism, modern day vandalism, economic vandalism. What else can we do to convince the government to make sure that this part of the landscape is protected and preserved for future studies and so on? So as a result of my outreach activity, recently the government department, archaeology department and the revenue department people visited these caves, and then they also went through the villages and then went house to house to convince them, and then also gave them an warning that if this kind of activity continues, action will be taken and so on. But anyway, in spite of that, small scale destruction is continuing to happen in these areas. Now, as we know, Andhra Pradesh is one of the richest regions in peninsular South India, especially what we call Proterozoic basins. Kadapa Basin is the second largest Proterozoic basin in India. The major one is the Vindhyan Basin, which is about 60,000 square kilometers, whereas the Kadapa Basin, which spreads between Telangana and the modern Andhra Pradesh, has a 45,000 square kilometer area. It has several sub-basins, and each of these sub-basins have preserved evidence of Paleolithic, archaeological remains. And unfortunately, these basins have not been considered as a potential geographical unit for archaeological, intensive archaeological search. Only after the work that we carried out in Villasargam and Jalapuram, a new generation of archaeologists are going back to these areas, and their work has produced excellent and more exciting results than the work that we produced at Jalapuram as well as Villasargam and so on. So this division between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh does not matter much. It is this entire Kadapa Basin which is the most potential area, which can help us understand man-land relationships, because outside the Kadapa and Kurnool Basin areas, the landscapes are very, very different. And the Kadapas are also form of the part of the Eastern Ghats. There are parallel ranges, and between these ranges, there are valleys and shallow basins, lacustral basins, which have not been identified yet. But we understand there are lacustral basins which have been modified by modern day agricultural expansion, industrialization, and so on. But then these lacustral bodies were the points where human occupation took place in the Paleolithic time. So that is where we think that among all the southern states, even including Western India like Maharashtra and Orissa, Andhra Pradesh has the most well-preserved prehistoric sites anywhere in India, for that matter. Even Vindhyas may give a challenge, but the investigations in the Vindhyan region is at a very, very low key, and the current research is restricted to several sites in the Bhopal, Raisen district area and so on. But this is widespread occurrence of Paleolithic sites, rock art sites is unmatched anywhere in India. But similarly, the Kadapa Basin also holds the potential for projecting India's prehistoric past more scientifically than it has been done otherwise. So Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and then this is the central part of the peninsular South India, where we have the greatest concentration of Paleolithic sites, Neolithic sites, Mesolithic sites, Neolithic and Iron Age sites. And then we see very clear transition from Iron Age to early historic sites, as reflected by the presence of a series of sites associated with Mauryan King Ashoka, especially the edicts, and then the subsequent development in the post-Mauryan period. But the evidence for earliest beginnings of human occupation of this area is definitely preserved in the Kurnool and Kadapa basins and so on. As we move out of this core area into the granitic terrain, either on the eastern side or on the western side and southern side, we get to see a different cultural pattern reflected by the archaeological sites and so on. So this is the largest Kadapa, the Proterozoic basin, which is made up of quartzites, shale, limestone, multiple varieties of quartzites belonging to different geological time series, and shale deposits and so on. And this particular region was the one which was subject to our study during the last 2 decades. And even now I go again and again to see if these natural cuttings have revealed anything which was previously buried and so on. But otherwise, organized systematic investigations have come to an end during the last 15 years or so. But exploratory research is carried out by me. As you can see, a couple of months ago, we were there with our colleagues from Hyderabad and so on. So this region holds key to answering many of the questions. Not surprisingly, there will be a context where we can recover human remains, fossil human remains. Like the Kurnool Basin sites have given evidence of animal fossils going back to 260,000 years ago. And then, as I said, we have not gone to the bottom of the cave floor at Bilasargam. If the trenches which were previously dug are reopened and given access to archaeologists and paleontologists to go further deep in the cave floors, one day we will have evidence which can compete with the evidence that we have so far known from the African sites and so on. We have thousands of sites, clusters of archaeological sites going back to lower Paleolithic times. We have, as I said, in the Bilasargam cave, we have animal remains going back to 3 lakh years or so. So why not, we should also look for human remains in these areas. It's a protracted, struggle to recover our past. And, archaeological excavations or, archaeologists are faced with frustration. In fact, we did face frustration when we opened up the trenches, but then it was compensated by the discovery of Jolapuram site. So we were simultaneously working at Bilasargam and Jolapuram, and we were able to map the archaeological landscape of this area as systematically as possible, employ modern dating methods, and also re-identify, subject the faunal material which was previously recovered, and also current investigations that also was subject to analysis, and we rediscovered some of the animal remains which were wrongly identified by early paleontologists like Lydekker and so on and so forth. So as I said, this particular region between several valleys within the Eastern Ghats, we have Erramalai Hills, where we have the Bilasargam cave, Errajari cave, and then of course the Belum cave further south. And then this is the Jilleru Valley. For the namesake, it is a river, but otherwise it is simply a low energy, incompetent stream, which only drains water during the rainy season for a couple of weeks or something like that. But otherwise it is a low-lying, shallow river basin, flanked by the Errajari Hills. And then as we move eastwards, we come across this Nalam, what we call Nallamalai Hill Ranges, and further east is Velikonda Hills. And then I can see the number of dots. The dots that you see were the sites which were discovered post our investigations in Jolapuram area. So this region was subject to systematic study earlier also, but they were reporting the sites without placing them in the geological context. and also identifying the stratigraphic context of the sites. Sites were reported, but their context was not understood, their chronology was not known, and then systematic study of Paleolithic technology was also not carried out. So the findings from Jalapuram prompted a couple of archaeologists to go back into these areas and survey, revisit some of the sites which were previously reported, and then that led to identifying more sites and also identify sites with evidence of volcanic ash, in a stratigraphic context. That was the most exciting thing. So this was the key site, key investigations, which enabled the later archaeologists to resurvey. And Dr. Ani Devara, who was working at the MSc University of Baroda, carried out investigations here, and his results were results and chronology that he established for the sites. Stratigraphic context in which these artifacts were found have been, much more interesting than what we found. We did not go deeper below the middle Paleolithic level in Jalapuram area because the water tables were coming in the way of digging deeper into the, the sediments here. Whereas here, the sediments were neatly exposed to the surface, and the stratigraphic context could be systematically documented. And then the OSL dating method, optically stimulated luminescence dating method, was very, very helpful, along with, what we call tephrochronology, the ash itself, and then other multiple investigations to, fingerprint the ash as the youngest Toba tip were all carried out. And as a result, these sites have been investigated, and then they have added greater, time depth, and also contributed to challenging the theories of human evolution, out of Africa expansion, and so on and so forth. So the evidence from here argues for in situ development from lower Paleolithic to middle Paleolithic. Whereas the evidence here suggested that middle Paleolithic here in this region was introduced by the people who came from out of Africa into peninsular South India and so on. So there are these conflicting theories. So now it has become the hotspot of modern debates that are going on about whether the middle Paleolithic developed from the lower Paleolithic in situ, or it was introduced from outside and so on. So both these arguments are continuing, and then new sites are being brought to light. And most interesting is these elevated areas have numerous hundreds of rock shelters, with paintings and so on. So there's a lot of potential for, several generations of archaeologists who can come back to this area and conduct more modern research into human origins and human population expansion and so on. So this particular map gives us an idea of this Errajari hill range. We have this Betam Cherla, about 5 kilometers south east of Betam Cherla is the Bilesaragam cave. And then if you come south of Betam Cherla into Yaganti, or what we call Banganpalle area, you have the Yaganti complex of rock shelters. And then further south of Yaganti is the Jalapuram Pathapadu. Pathapadu is a Neolithic site which was first reported by Robert Brucefoot in 1880s. And later, I.K. Sharma of the Archaeological Survey of India carried out some preliminary research here. And prior to that, Robert F.R. Alchin also conducted some surface survey. But in the 1990s, we were working at these Neolithic sites to recover evidence for earliest agriculture, Neolithic agriculture. What were the type of food crops that were first cultivated by the Neolithic people? The sites were known for their Neolithic stone axes and varieties of pottery and so on and so forth. But no, there was no information about what type of animals were domesticated and what type of food crops were cultivated. So in 1996 to 2001, we were focusing on Neolithic archaeology of the known sites in this area. And from 2002 onwards, we started looking at the Paleolithic part of this, beginning at Betam Cherla Bilesargam complex to the Jalapuram complex of sites and so on. So I should not take more time to talk about the scholars who have contributed to reconstructing the history of, paleontological history of this area. More time, I just mentioned this list. 1840 was the time when Neibold discovered the Bilesargam cave. Robert Brucefoot, and his son, they excavated in 1880s. And then Kamiad and Burkitt, they were here in 1920s. And then K.N. Prasad of the Paleontology Division of the Geological Survey, Dr. M.L.K. Murthy, Dr. Thimareddy, and our team have been, in a phased manner, have been carrying out investigations in this area. And the material that was collected by Robert Brucefoot, Henry Foote, was sent to Asiatic Society Asiatic Society Laboratory, where Lydecker carried out investigations. So, and then Newbolt's publications were of great importance. That is where Huxley wanted Robert Brucefoot to go and excavate Vilasargam. So Newbolt laid the pioneering investigations here, and Foote's publications following his work were published in the records of the Geological Survey, and 1884, and he and his son together. Then in 1916, when the Madras Government Museum published the catalogs of Robert Brucefoot, they also included all the detailed information about his findings at various sites across the former Madras Presidency, including Kurnool Cave areas and so on. So these 1916 publications are a Bible for generations of archaeologists in India, even today. And then Kamiad and Burkitt were chiefly concerned about, finding a sequence of prehistoric cultures, lower Paleolithic, middle Paleolithic, upper Paleolithic, because until about 1970s, we did not have clear evidence of the presence of upper Paleolithic in the Paleolithic sequence here. But, there were only suspected sites, but full-fledged information and investigations on the upper Paleolithic were carried out only by our team in the early part of the 21st century. Now we say we are sure that upper Paleolithic in India was characterized by the production of microlithic tools, not the parallel-sided long blades as they have been found in Europe and elsewhere in continental Europe and so on. So we have a unique context of upper Paleolithic tools made up of microlithic artifacts, and they compare very well with the late Stone Age, microliths of Africa. Both the late Stone Age and the microliths here appear to be directly associated with Homo sapiens, our immediate ancestors who colonized this part around 50 to 60,000 years ago. So our sites are in the range of 40 to 50,000 years, but likely there are sites which have preserved older evidence, and that will be revealed by future investigations only. So this Vilasargam cave, Betam Cherla, as I show you the video here, these are the names, which was the first ground plan of the cave floor prepared by Robert Brucefoot, and he identified openings here, deep openings into these cave walls, and then he gave these Gothic names to various of these openings. So he called Charnel House, Cathedral, then you have Chapter House, and then one of the caves was subject to excavation by Thimareddy. We gave the name to that cave as a Thimareddy cave and so on. So these cave excavations which were carried out by Robert Brucefoot are here. Unfortunately, this cave, these trenches have now been closed, and in nearly 8-meter deep, trenches were there. And we wanted to go further deep, given the time and the resources to work in some interior areas like Vilasargam and so on. But we are now requesting that if these cave floors and the trenches can be restored, future research is likely to throw up tantalizing results and so on. And we always look for better prospects, because cave areas are the greatest, sites with potential for recovering data going back in time, deeper in time, and so on. And our recent research has clearly shown that the evidence which was initially reported by Robert Brucefoot was thought to be late Pleistocene, only about 50,000 or so. But our work has revealed, we re-excavated some of these cave floors, and we prepared a composite, stratigraphy of the cave floor, sequence, established a chronology based on OSL dating as well as AMS radiocarbon dating, reanalyzed, reclassified the faunal remains, and now we are given a picture of nearly 260,000. And then we have matched the stratigraphic development with the climatic change in terms of what we call oxygen isotopic stages or marine isotopic stages, which are, reflecting the warm and humid condition and cold and dry conditions, cycles of warm and humid, cold and dry conditions, and the contemporary animal fauna and the possible adaptive capabilities of the fauna which were living here during the last 260,000 years and so on. So this is the general landscape of the Billasargam area, the quartzitic hills here, and the limestone happens to be the lowermost geological horizon here. And this karstic formation has, taken place in this particular ridge that we see here. It is capped by quartzites, and these quartzites are called Manium quartzites, and they have developed huge, rock shelters in there through geological time. And these rock shelters will have rolled down from the plateau here. Most of the quartzite rock shelters were located initially in the geological past, but because of geomorphic processes, the rock shelters have rolled down and are located now at different locations along the slope and so on. But human presence here is only not older than 2 or 3 lakhs or even maybe 10 lakh years, but these go back to billions of years ago. So that is where we think that this is a potential region if it is made accessible for future research and also develop this into an open air natural distribution. There can be nothing like that, and it will be the greatest contribution of modern society to the future generation for sharing knowledge of our past. And these are the bone tools which are first reported by Robert Brucefoot in the cave here in 1880s. But our reinvestigations in this area did not yield further evidence, and then they remain suspected Upper Paleolithic, or what they call Magdalenian bone tools and so on. And similarly, limestone flakes have also been recovered, but they do not show definite evidence of human workmanship. So these were initially taken for Upper Paleolithic comparable to those in Europe and so on. But our recent work has clearly shown that the Upper Paleolithic tools were microliths, not this kind of blade tools, very long, slender, and parallel-sided and so on. So the Kurnool sites, the area where we work, as numerous locations where we have found evidence of both volcanic ash deposit, evidence of stone tools belonging to lower Paleolithic, middle Paleolithic, and microlithic, and so on. And then they are in a stratified context. Most interesting is stratified context. Unlike the surface sites, which are not suitable for documenting evidence in a chronological sequence, these sites are very, very well preserved sites that we have in this area. There are such valleys in between, and these are the areas where I was talking about lacustral geomorphic units. In between the hill ranges, you have such low-lying shallow water bodies which have now been filled up and have been modified by modern agriculture and so on. But these are the areas which are very, very potential. If you dig through these deposits, quite likely that we have chance of finding well-preserved evidence of human presence in this area belonging to lower, belonging to middle, or even upper Paleolithic and so on. So it's not only the cave which are potential, but some of these low energy deposits which are preserved here. Only the surface area, couple of meters of these deposits have been modified by modern human activity. But one can go deeper and deeper and see if there is evidence of stratified evidence for presence of humans in the Pleistocene and so on. So looking at these caves, this is the one cave which we call Timmareddy cave here. This was not previously subject to excavation. Our team carried out excavation here, and in the cave floor area, we found some of these tools, probably of the Upper Paleolithic phase, but then they are not abundant to be able to draw a systematic account of what type of stone tool technology was prevalent at the time when human occupation took place here. Quite possible that they are late Pleistocene age, and they do reflect the presence of Upper Paleolithic Homo sapiens in this area, in addition to thousands and thousands of animal bones which have been recovered from other trenches in this area. So this is the interior of the cave excavation, and that you can see how deep, thick these deposits are, and then if they can go deep, and then the chances of finding well-preserved evidence cannot be ruled out. And following our work, no other archaeological team has been able to go and carry forward the legacy of work that has been carried out here. And this is one cave which is known as Muchetla Chintamanu Gavi. This was discovered by Emil Kemurti. He was also an excavator here. He found some evidence for Upper Paleolithic and also hearth, evidence of cooking activity taking place here. And he dated by what we call ESR dating method. We also tried to do TL dating method, and he obtained a date of about 18,000 years ago. So, but reinvestigations did not yield us evidence, as we find here in the cave floors here. Here, unfortunately, modern day illicit distillery people have drastically modified this landscape. Yet we tried to recover evidence at Chetla Chintamanu. And then this is the charnel house cave. We found in the upper surface here some evidence of stone tools. But as I told you, the video has sealed all this. If this was available for further investigations, one could go deeper and see what is preserved, for documenting archaeological evidence in this area. So we wish that, people come forward to help us to reopen these trenches and then restore them, and also, preserve them as iconic trenches, because they have been there for the last 150 years. And people who will come here to see and, pass time here, they will be having exciting time that, yes, archaeologists were here 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And then we want to display information about what, animal life existed in this area in the form of dioramas, in the form of three-dimensional models, and so on and so forth. So this was another trench which was first dug by Robert Brucefoot. And you can see the ladder is so long, and we have gone deep here up to 8 meters. Still, we have not reached the bedrock. So there is a need for further, digging in this cave floor deposit and see if we have luck and also a chance to find human remains here. When we have animal remains, why not human remains? That is the kind of logic we have. So when Lydekker was given the fossil material, he identified, cave comb, a lot of animal remains, 26 genera of birds, mammals, amphibians, 11 families, range of habitats, the grasslands, you have woodland, parkland, and then, landscapes in terms of lake sediments, lake areas, and then, small rivulets and, such things. And then you have the antelopes, carnivores, gazelle, horse, pig. These are all, paleontological material. Horse is not modern horse. It is Pleistocene horse here. We have evidence of wild pig. We have monkeys, old world monkeys. Rhino, you can imagine, is extinct in this area today. Rhinoceros is not found in southern India, but we have them. So it is very interesting to reconstruct the animal life that lived here, during the last 3 lakh years or so. Amphibians, you can understand, crocodiles, amphibians, unless there was a, deep water bodies in this area, in the neighborhood of the caves, there is no chance of finding amphibian, evidence of amphibians and crocodiles and so on. So this is an exciting area. I wonder why these, modern day modification took place without consulting, any of us and so on. So we worked during the first decade, and we had experts, faunal experts like Tristan Miracle, who added new evidence of bovids, like, buffalo family animals, deer, porcupine, and cut marked bones. This is the most exciting thing, because bones, if they have cut marks, it is definite evidence of human presence in this area. So animal bones were cut open by, hunter-gatherers to extract marrow and so on. So medium-sized ungulates like, deer, antelopes, and so on were, hunted by these people. And that evidence is there. There is indirect evidence, but we have to establish the presence of humans by discovering, human fossils in this area. So another opening here, the caves, trenches, which are now sealed by modern day concrete. Unfortunate thing that has happened there. We wish we will be able to restore. See, the Foot excavated here in 1883, and we excavated here in 2008, and then also in 2008 in this area. So there's a lot of material still preserved underneath the cave floor. Needs to be, sorry. We have here, we have flakes, microblades, and then, of course, some artifacts, flake pores, and so on. But further, digging will help us to collect more artifacts, which can help us make sense of what they are. Now you have facts, these kind of artifacts in a scattered manner, but we want them in a stratified context. There is a scope for identifying these tools in a stratified context and so on. See the deep trenches that are there, and then the shale deposit, limestone deposits. And so we have gone so deep here, but still there is scope for further go, digging into the cave floors and so on. The stalactites, these are all stalactites and stalagmites, fossilized, they are not useful for reconstructing, monsoon fluctuation in this area, because we went there in 1999 to look at the potential of these hanging, dripstones, what we call. They are not living ones. If they were living, they would have been useful for monsoon reconstruction during the last 30,000-40,000 years, but they were fossils already. So they were not found, useful for monsoon reconstruction and so on. So these are the clay floor deposit which has been now removed, and we don't know what actually this deposit, still contains. But anyway, that has been lost. But future excavations may bring to light what has not been found so far and so on. And then we have evidence of rock art on the cave floors, cave walls here. This is the unique example of a diamond shaped engraving on the limestone wall. And we used AMS dating, accelerator mass spectrometer radiocarbon dating of, the carbon, specks of carbonate deposit was removed from these grooves very carefully, and they were subject to dating, and it gave a date of 4,250 BC, 4,200 BP, in the sense the Neolithic time period. So some of the, cut marked bones and some flake tools that we have found so far may also be of the Neolithic period. And this is a clear evidence of the presence of Neolithic people in this area, and not comparable to the kind of rock art we see in the Jalapuram area and so on. So these are the views of the trenches which have now been lost. So the excavations that were carried out in the cave floors in all these cathedral, charnel house caves was, was subject to developing a composite stratigraphy. The section reveals deposits from these two caves, charnel house and cathedral. And then the samples were taken. See, nearly 15 meters depth. We have gone there, and further depth is also, possible to recover the sediments and associated faunal and other archaeological material as well. So this column represents the kinds of geological layers which contain various types of fossil material, animal fossil material, then stone tools and things like that. But what was more important was subjecting these deposits to what we call OSL dating, which was not done previously, and more careful examination of the gravel deposit gave evidence of volcanic ash, glass shards, similar to the one we have found in Jalapuram area. So the glass shards, individual glass shards, were found mixed up with the cave floor deposit. Whereas in Jalapuram, we see the entire volcanic ash deposit preserved in the lake bottom. But here, the wind-blown glass shards were incorporated into the cave floor at Bilasargam, and the most exciting time that we had. And that definitely gave the evidence of the deposit and its age going back to what we call 74,000 years ago, undoubtedly. And then we go deeper and deeper. We did OSL sampling, and then they took us backwards in time to 210,000 years ago, and further down as well. Now, this column has been compared with what we call, climatic changes of the last 2 lakh years, quaternary, what we call. So these are numbered in terms of MIS 1, 2, 3, and so on. MIS 1 represents odd, warm and humid conditions like today. MIS 3, similar conditions around before 35,000 years ago. MIS 5 around 60,000 years ago, and then MIS 6 around 120,000 years ago and more. So that is where it coincides well with the evidence of climate as well as the chronology that we have. The odd numbered ones represent warm and humid conditions, and then a related fauna has been recovered, and we know the context in which, environmental context in which these animals lived here. And most important, rediscovery. These were wrongly identified earlier. Now, rediscovery in the sense when they were freshly subject to identification, this teeth belonging to an old world monkey called Theropithecus gelida was found here, and it is extinct in India. Now it is only living in the Ethiopian highlands, and this is a monkey. It's a very monstrous kind of monkey. We have seen the reconstructions and also living monkeys in Africa and so on. And if this monkey can be displayed in a model, as well as a small zoo can be set up in this area, in the Bilasargam area, there can be nothing like it as an educational center for visitors of all age groups and so on. Extinct in India, now found only in the Ethiopian highlands. So this is found in the Charnel House cave that we have see here. So this is the Charnel cave. This deposit gave evidence of that particular old world monkey in the Bilasargam caves. And then we move towards Jolapuram, and this is the Jureru Valley localities here. All the localities which were subject to excavation have been given this number. Jolapuram 3 and Jolapuram 9 were most productive, trenches and sites, which provided an absolute chronology for the Paleolithic and also, Holocene cultures in this area. So all have been subject to study. The detailed typological, technological study has been carried out. All the material that were systematically gathered has now been preserved in the Bellary Sanganakallu Archaeological Museum, and it's also being subject to further study by younger generation of archaeologists. That is the reason for which the museum in Bellary was set up by me. We have systematic catalog of all the antiquities, that we recovered from Jolapuram, Bilasargam, and several other sites in northern Karnataka, and Neolithic sites in Karnool and Bellary, Raichur areas, and so on. Several archaeologists, research scholars are working on that material. They are applying modern methods. We are facilitating, reinvestigations into the collections that we have made, and that is where the Jalida was re-identified. Similarly, there are other faunal materials. We had not seen presence of ostrich in this area, but a re-analysis of the faunal material has also given evidence of presence of ostrich in the Bellary area. So that is how, continuing research and also, access to the material, either in the archaeological context or as a catalog in the museum, is of great help for future research and so on. So these are some of the research. This whitish region that we see, I showed you the close-up of the volcanic ash that is being mined and bagged and then transported from here. But this is the hill range, Erajari hill range, where hundreds of painted rock shelters are located. The rock shelter Jolapuram 9 is located here. And then other excavations are, Okay. Akendova. Sorry. Okay. So these are this is the typical landscape. I was talking about lacustral context here. Although this is called Jirori River, this landscape in the Pleistocene was a shallow water body, lake-like situation. Because it was a lake, volcanic ash could be preserved in the lake bottom. Otherwise, volcanic ash would not have been preserved. It would have got washed away and so on. Despite the high energy slopes here, whatever ashfall took place on this entire landscape was pushed down by the heavy rains that are accompanied by ashfall, and then deposited in the cave floor. And fortunately, at the time of ashfall, Middle Paleolithic hominins were living in this area. So this is the core area where investigations were carried out. Jolapuram 9 here, Jolapuram 3. This gave the stratigraphic evidence of Middle Paleolithic tools below the volcanic ash layer. This slide should give you an idea of the landscape, all surrounded by Yeddulakonda in the southern region, Erajari in the northern region, and in between we have the shallow water body. Of course, now they have built a dam here, but it hardly carries water during the rainy season. But fortunately for us, this particular geomorphic landscape provided the evidence as well as the stratigraphic context of Paleolithic material and so on. So we have stratified Middle Paleolithic below the Toba ash, and then further close to the foothill areas, we have the Lower Paleolithic Acheulean artifacts occurring here. But in the heart of this lake, former lake, when the lake levels were much lower than at times of human occupation, the sites are located here in the middle of this particular basin. Now modification has taken place, but paleogeography, what was the nature of landscape before the ashfall and what nadification of the landscape took place after the ashfall and so on, have been documented by our team. And we know the depth of the sediments here going back to at least 15 to 20 meters. We could not go much deeper because of the high water tables here and so on. So similar to what we did in Bilasargam cave, we excavated at number of these localities, and each of these locality gave us a stratigraphic sequence of sediments containing cultural material. Jolapuram 9 is a rock shelter, and it is associated with the carbonate deposits. Tufa is a carbonate deposit, whereas a tuff is a volcanic ash. So this upslopes, the northern slopes of the southern slopes of Errajari range, we have these rock shelters here with evidence of microliths going back to 40,000 years. And then the so-called river, which is now cutting down the lake deposits. And that is why the ash is exposed. You will see another photograph. And then you have the presence of stone artifacts at a number of these localities. And then this end is a dolerite dike. And in the vicinity of dolerite dike, we have evidence of rock art, especially when it is called Edulaganda. It is called Edulaganda because there are bruisings of cattle on the dolerite dike, and some Neolithic artifacts and pottery have been found since the time of Robert Brucewood in this area. So that is how the sections that were, exposed and the composite stratigraphies were reconstructed, and the deposits were subject to dating, and then the presence of volcanic ash, this whitish material here, and elsewhere we have this youngest tufa tuff going back to 74,000 years ago. And these deposits are dated by OSL. They go back to 78 to 80,000 years ago. And it is here we find Middle Paleolithic. And further down in this particular deposit, we have Lower Paleolithic. So Lower Paleolithic, Middle Paleolithic, and Upper Paleolithic, and of course Holocene, Neolithic, and so on found on the surface. So this contains, the entire sequence of human activity right from Lower Paleolithic times and so on. So this is that gravel body which we see here, which contains evidence of large cleaver, which I am holding here. And then this is the deposit here which was dug. One minute, just excuse me. Sorry, everybody, there was a problem. So this is that thick volcanic ash deposit that is very well preserved in the Jolapuram area. So below this ash, we have evidence of, Middle Paleolithic here. And then as we go up, we go towards the hill slope where we have late Pleistocene deposits containing microliths, rock shelters, and so on and so forth. So the Jolapuram 3 locality where we found the stone artifacts of the Middle Paleolithic period here. And then this deposit here. This is Dr. Varaprasada Rao, unfortunately is no more, and his wife, Dr. Kasturi Bai. They were also present when we were excavating in this area. And our team engaged in collecting systematic samples for dating and other things, studying the volcanic deposit by a volcanologist who clearly identified the lower 10 centimeters of volcanic ash as the primary ash, and the remaining as part of the emplacement, that took place following the ash fall and so on. And there are several other trenches which yielded the presence of, Middle Paleolithic tools below the volcanic ash and so on. So these are mint fresh condition Middle Paleolithic tools made from limestone and then also quartz and so on and so forth. And this is the base of the ash. And here also we found some of these tools deeper, much deeper below the ash deposit itself. So this itself is 74,000. And one can imagine that this will be definitely older as we go deeper. And then we have about 80,000 years of age for the deposits in this area. And then type of limestone Middle Paleolithic tools that we found in this area, scrapers, and then type of varieties of scrapers, blade tools, and so on. So this is the kind of volcanic eruption one can imagine that may have, taken place 74,000 years ago in Toba, in Southeast Asia, in Sumatra, and the ash clouds, they were transported across the, South China Sea up to East African lakes, East African lakes in Kenya and elsewhere. So volcanic ash has been found in the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, and in the continental riverine and lacustre deposits and so on. And that is the maximum, highest magnitude, they say, 28,000 million cubic tons of volcanic ash was ejected by this eruption. So our work resulted in the discovery of Acheulean to historic period sites, identified hundreds of caves and rock shelters, stratified archaeological sites, chronometric ages going back to 80,000 years to 140,000 years, large collection of faunal and lithic collections, recovery of unique artifacts, symbolic pieces, as I mentioned in the beginning. And then this particular painted rock shelters, which we excavated, has given evidence of nearly 40,000 year old microliths. First time dating of the microliths by absolute methods was carried out at Cholapuram, and later on other sites were subject to similar dating, and they found that up to 50,000 years ago we have these microliths. Close up of the rock shelter, and then the trench that we dug, which yielded not only microliths, oldest stone and shell beads, as well as serial harpoon, the microliths, the limestone outcrop from which the raw material was procured, and such microliths were produced. And we have this cranial part of a child. Then we have this uniserial harpoon, then the shells which were modified into beads, and then stone beads that were found in this particular deposit. These are all very well dated. They go back to more than 12,000 years ago to 25,000 years ago onwards. This is a unique rock shelter site anywhere in India. They are comparable to the sites in Sri Lanka, Batadambalena, Patne, Jolapuram, and so on. Then we have this emergence of new technology, as reflected by the microblades that have been found here, which is now increasingly attributed to Homo sapiens, in this area and so on. And similarly, in the upland region around Yaganti is this Katakavani Kunta area, where numerous rock shelters with paintings have been documented. We have made a systematic documentation and study of the chronology of various types of rock art bodies that we have, on the rock shelter walls and so on, so forth. Thank you very much for your attention. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I am not able to open the Zoom.
Okay, sir.
Can I rejoin?
Okay, sir. You can join.
No.
Okay, sir.
Just give me 2 minutes. I'll come back.
Yes, sir.
Meanwhile,
sir.
if there are questions, I'll hear.
Okay, sir. Bhadragiri, sir. Bhadragiri, sir, అందుబాటులో ఉన్నారా?
సార్ ఉన్నారు.
Sir, any briefing, please? Girish sir, ఏమైనా briefing ఇవ్వగలిగితే hopefully it's better.
సార్ స్పీచ్ విన్నారు కదా, ఏమైనా బ్రీఫ్ చేయగలరా?
అదే సార్, అంటే ఇప్పుడు మన గ్రూప్ లో ఉన్న అందరి కోసం మన డాక్టర్ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ సార్ అందరికి తెలిసిన వారు, మనకు తెలిసిన ప్రఖ్యాత ఆర్కియాలజిస్ట్ ఆయన. సో సార్ మనకి ఇప్పటిదాకా చెప్పిన వివరాలని సంబంధించి ఏంటంటే, దీనికంటే ముందు అంటే అఫ్ కోర్స్ నాకంటే మంచిగా వేణుగోపాల్ సార్ చెప్పగలుగుతారేమో, బట్ ఎనీవే ఐ విల్ ట్రై టు సమ్మరైజ్ వాట్ సార్ చెప్పిందని తెలుగులో సమ్మరైజ్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేస్తాను. సార్ చెప్పింది ఏంటంటే మన కర్నూలు జిల్లా, కడప జిల్లా బేసిన్ లో ఉన్న బిలసర్గం మరియు జ్వాలాపురం. బిలసర్గం ఏమో గుహల సముదాయము, అది
సార్ మాట్లాడు. సార్ భద్రగిరి సార్, సార్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు.
సార్ సార్
సార్ మాట్లాడండి.
ఓకే సార్.
Yeah, yeah. Can you repeat?
ఓకే ఓకే సార్.
Yeah.
సార్ రవి సార్, ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు హియర్ us?
Mo-
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. సార్ హరగోపాల్ సార్.
సార్ సార్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు.
Ah.
సార్
Yeah, చెప్పండి.
సార్ మళ్ళీ మీరేమైనా షేర్ చేస్తున్నారా?
లేదు.
ఓకే
It's over. I completed my talk.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Yeah.
Sir, Ravi sir, is it possible to give a briefing in Telugu from your side?
I'm sorry.
Sir,
This is my problem because I
Sir.
can only make social communication, but not kind of scientific.
Yes, sir.
No
Any
problem.
of you can help me.
Yes, sir. So that Badrigiri sir and Cheklam and Gopal sir will do that work, sir,
Yes.
for a few minutes.
Sir is our co-convener, sir. He is the officer in the pollution control
Girish
board.
sir, please continue.
Okay.
భద్రగిరి సార్, భద్రగిరీష్ గారు సార్,
Sir.
భద్రగిరీష్ సార్.
Badrigiri sir, otherwise Cheklam and Gopal sir.
చెక్లం సార్ ఉన్నారు. చెక్లం సార్ ఇంతసేపు ఉన్నారో లేదు. ఇప్పుడు ఏమైనా తెలుగు చేయగలిగింది ఉంటే చెప్పు మరి కట్ట అని.
Sir.
సార్ అందుబాటులో లేడు కదా.
సారీ
ఉన్నారు సార్ Badrigiri గారు.
సారీ సార్, చిన్న ఆఫీస్ కాల్ వచ్చింది మధ్యలో. I just
Okay,
ఓకే సార్.
Ah.
మీరు సమరైజ్ చేసి చెప్పండి తెలుగులో, తర్వాత
Ah,
క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్స్
ఇందాక సార్ డాక్టర్ రవి కోరశెట్టర్ సార్ చెప్పిన దానికి సమ్మరైజ్డ్ గా చెప్పాలంటే, సార్ మొత్తం కర్నూలు కడప బేసిన్ లో విస్తరించి ఉన్న 2 ప్రాంతాల గురించి మనకు ఇవాళ డీటెయిల్ గా మనకు వివరాలు ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. దానిలో ఒకటి ఏంటంటే బిలసర్గం అనేది గుహల సముదాయం. కర్నూలు ప్రాంతంలో ఉన్న గుహల సముదాయము. ఈ గుహల సముదాయము అనేక సంవత్సరాలు, కొన్ని వేల సంవత్సరాల నుంచి మానవ ఆవాసంగా ఉండి, మానవ ఆవాసానికి సంబంధించిన అనేక సాక్ష్యాలు అక్కడ వెలువడ్డాయి. ఇంతకుముందు అంటే మన బ్రిటిష్ పరిపాలనలో ఉన్నప్పుడు రాబర్ట్ బ్రూస్ఫుట్, ప్రముఖ పురాతత్వ శాస్త్రవేత్త రాబర్ట్ బ్రూస్ఫుట్ అక్కడ ఆ ప్రాంతాన్ని సందర్శించి అనేక తవ్వకాలు చేపట్టినప్పుడు, అంటే మనకు చెప్తున్న పాతరాతి యుగము, అలాగే కొత్త రాతి యుగము, అలాగే ఇనుమ దాని ఏమంటారు నియోలిథిక్ ఏజ్ అంటారు. సో నూతన రాతి, ఈ 3 సంబంధించిన అనేక సాక్ష్య ఈ పనిముట్లు కూడా అక్కడ వాళ్ళు సేకరించడం జరిగింది. సో ఈ విధంగా బిలసర్గం అనేది చాలా ముఖ్యమైన ఆర్కియలాజికల్ సైట్ అది. సో కానీ ఏమైందంటే ఈ కొద్ది కాలంలో టూరిజం డిపార్ట్మెంట్ వారిని ఆ గుహల్ని అభివృద్ధి చేసే కార్యక్రమంలో ఆ కింద ఫ్లోర్ అంతా వారు కాంక్రీట్ చేయడం అనేది చాలా నష్టం జరిగింది. దానికి మనకేంటంటే ఆర్కియలాజికల్ గా పురావస్తు తవ్వకాలు జరపడానికి చాలా అడ్డంకిగా మారింది. డాక్టర్ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారు దానికి సంబంధించి కూడా చాలా తన విచారం వ్యక్తం చేశారు. ప్రభుత్వాన్ని కూడా కోరడం జరిగింది, అంటే ఆ కాంక్రీట్ తొలగిస్తే ఫర్దర్ గా మనం ఎక్స్కవేషన్ తవ్వకాలు చేపట్టవచ్చని ప్రభుత్వాన్ని కోరడం జరిగింది. సో ఈ బిలసర్గం అనేది చాలా ముఖ్యమైన గుహల సముదాయము, ప్రాచీన మానవ ఆవాసాలు కలిగి ఉన్న గుహ సముదాయం కాబట్టి దాన్ని మనం అభివృద్ధి చేసుకొని దాని తర్వాత పరిశోధన చేసి పురావస్తు తవ్వకాలు చేపట్టి ఆ యొక్క చరిత్రని మొత్తం అక్కడ మనం దాని భద్రపరచుకోవాల్సిందని సార్ మనకు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే రెండవ స్థలం ఏంటంటే కర్నూలు జిల్లాలోని జ్వాలాపురం. ఈ జ్వాలాపురం అనేది ఒక ప్రత్యేకమైన స్థలము. ఇది ముఖ్యమైన అంటే యంగ్ టోబాటఫ్, అంటే దాదాపు 70,000 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం, అంటే దాదాపు 74,000 సంవత్సరాల క్రితంలో ఇండోనేషియాలోని సుమత్రా ద్వీపంలో ఒక పెద్ద అగ్నిపర్వతం, టోబా అనే పేరున్న అగ్నిపర్వతం చాలా తీవ్రమైన పేలుడుకు గురైంది. ఈ పేలుడు తీవ్రత ఎంత తీవ్రతగా ఉండిందంటే, ఇందాక నేను సార్ చెప్పినట్టు 28,000 బిలియన్ టన్నుల బూడిద వాతావరణంలోకి వెళ్ళాడు. అది ప్రపంచంలోనే అనేక దేశాలను జరిగింది గాలి ద్వారా. దానిలో మనము ఇండోనేషియాకు దగ్గరగా ఉన్నాం కాబట్టి ఈ టోబాటఫ్ పేలుడు అగ్నిపర్వత స్ఫోటనం వల్ల వచ్చిన యాష్ ఈవెన్ మనకు అరేబియా సముద్రం యొక్క అడుగున కనబడుతుంటుంది, దాని యొక్క పేరుకోవడం కనబడుతుంది అనమాట. ఈ జ్వాలాపుర ప్రాంతంలో ఈ యొక్క బూడిద గుట్టలు ఉన్నాయి. అంటే ఈ భూస్థలానికి కింద వైపుగా దాదాపు 15 సెంటీమీటర్ల మందంలో ఈ బూడిద మొత్తం పేరుకొని. అయితే ఇక్కడ ముఖ్యమైన ఈ జ్వాలాపురంలో ఉన్న ఒక చాలా గొప్ప విషయం, అంటే పురావస్తు శాస్త్రవేత్తలకు చాలా ఆనందము, ఆశ్చర్యం కలిగించే విషయం ఏంటంటే, ఈ బూడిద పేర్కొనక ముందు అక్కడ మానవ ఆవాసాలు ఉన్నాయి. బూడిద పడిన తర్వాత మానవ ఆవాసాలు నష్టమైన తర్వాత తిరిగి మళ్ళీ మానవ ఆవాసాలు జరిగింది, అక్కడ ఏర్పాటు చేసుకోవడం జరిగింది. ఇది మనకు అంటే పురావస్తు శాస్త్రపరంగా చారిత్రకంగా చాలా పరిశోధించదగిన విషయం. అంటే ఈ ఈ ప్రపంచ చరిత్రలో ఈ టోబాటం అంటే 74 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం మానవ జాతిని చాలా మటుకు ఈ పేరుడు వల్ల మానవ జాతి నశించిపోయిందని చెప్తారు పురావస్తు శాస్త్రవేత్తలు. దాదాపుగా ఒక వందల సంఖ్యలోనే మానవ సమూహాలు మనుషులు మిగిలారు, అంటే సంఖ్యాపరంగా కూడా మనుషులు మిగిలారని అంటారు. సో ఈ జ్వాలాపురం ఈ వివరాలకు సంబంధించి అనేక సాక్ష్యాలు మనకు తెలియజేస్తోంది. అలాగే సార్ వారు మన డాక్టర్ కోరి శెట్టర్ సార్ వారు ఆ ప్రాంతాల్లో తవ్వకాలు చేపట్టినప్పుడు అనేక మానవ ఆవాసాలకు సంబంధించిన పనిముట్లు, అలాగే ఇందాక మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్టు సూక్ష్మరాతి పనిముట్లు, పాతరాతియుగం పనిముట్లు, కొత్త రాతియుగం పనిముట్లు, సూక్ష్మరాతియుగం పనిముట్లు, అలాగే కొన్ని పూసలు, ఇవన్నీ అలాగే మానవ అవశేషాలు అంటే బోన్స్, మానవ ఎముకలు, మనుషులకు సంబంధించిన ఎముకలు, ఇవన్నీ కూడా అక్కడ కనుగొనడం జరిగింది. కాబట్టి ఇది చాలా ముఖ్యమైన స్థలం. దీన్ని మనం అయితే ఇది కూడా మన మానవుల యొక్క యాక్టివిటీస్ అంటే ఆ ప్రాంతంలో ఈ బూడిదని మెరుగు చూద్దాం అంటారు. ఎందుకంటే అది వాల్కనిక్ యాష్ కాబట్టి దానిలో కొనదేరిన ఇసుక రేణువులు ఉంటాయి. దానిలో కొనదేరిన ఇసుక రేణువులు పాత్రలను తోముకోవడానికి చాలా బాగా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. అందుకని పూర్వకాలం నుంచి ఈ ప్రాంతంలో ఈ బూడిదని మెరుగు చూద్దానికి తవ్వకాలు చేసి ఆ ప్రాంతంలో చుట్టుపక్కల అమ్ముతూ ఉంటారు. ఇలా తవ్వకాలు జరపడం అనేక పురావస్తు సాక్ష్యాలు నాశనం అయిపోయాయి. ఈ విషయంలో కూడా సార్ ఇప్పుడు మనకు విచారం వ్యక్తం చేసి దీన్ని మనం కాపాడుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉందని నొక్కి చెప్పారు. కాబట్టి ఇవి రెండు ప్రాంతాలు సార్ చెప్పిన బిలసర్గము అలాగే ఈ జ్వాలాపురం కూడా ప్రాచీన మానవ చరిత్రకు సంబంధించి చాలా ముఖ్యమైన సాక్ష్యాలను కలిగి ఉన్నాయి. కాబట్టి ఈ రెండింటిని మనం భద్రంగా కాపాడుకొని తరంతర కాలం పరిశోధన చేయవలసిన అవసరం ఉందని సార్ ఈ ప్రెసెంటేషన్ లో మనకు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
It's a very good summary. I'm happy that he covered all points.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Questions ఏమన్నా ఉంటే
There is one question from Jadhav Garu. He's asking comparison the Bilasargam and Jwalapuram sites with Athirampakkam. But they are two different contexts, and Athirampakkam is primarily a lower Paleolithic site and is much older than the Paleolithic sites we have in the Kurnool region. Maybe there are equally old sites here, but they are yet to be found. That is why this area is very potential for future research. So Athirampakkam is typically lower to middle Paleolithic site, and there the lower Paleolithic is dated to 1.5 million years. And now recently they have also established the fact that middle Paleolithic is a gradual development from the lower Paleolithic, and it is dated to about 4 lakh years ago or so. Because that actually was challenging the kind of arguments we made on the basis of our work in Jwalapuram area. But subsequently, Anil Devara's work in the Prakasham district area, those sites which I showed you in the Velikonda regions are as old as 3 lakh years. So there is a possibility that different human ancestors were living in this region, South India, in different geographical areas. So older in situ development as well as introduction of middle Paleolithic technology into other regions may have also taken place, or it is also representing a gradual development from the Acheulean to middle Paleolithic is also possibility. But microliths as such that we have dated are excellent evidence for assigning them to Homo sapiens of 40,000 years ago to 50,000 years ago and so on. Because we have excavated only one rock shelter, but there are hundreds of them. And we excavated one in the Katikawanikunta Valley area, but that material has not been studied in detail. We are still looking at the material, but we don't have a date for Katikawanikunta sites. But that is where the rock art sites were first discovered by us on the Katikawanikunta plateau area. Then we descended down towards Yaganti and then to Jwalapuram, Patapadu area. We found this volcanic ash, then rock shelters at the road level, and where we excavated that Jwalapuram 9 and so on. So definitely they are all Paleolithic contexts. Athirampakkam also has a Paleolithic sequence. Jalapuram area also has a Paleolithic sequence. But the context of reservation is much better in Jalapuram area than in the Atirampakkam region. Atirampakkam happens to be an open air, habitation area, whereas here these rock shelters and caves are different, geomorphologically, and they provided a variety of resources, not only lithic resources, but also, as we see from the faunal record from Bilasargam, variety of animals, game animals, predator animals were living in this area. Bilasargam to Ankanpalle is only about 30-40 kilometers as the crow flies. It's not far, but the animal fauna would have been inhabiting all this area during the Pleistocene, undoubtedly. Yes. Is Mr. Jadhav here?
Sir, I am here, sir.
Okay.
Vivek Kumar
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I have met him.
Yes, sir. In 2000, yes, sir, I met you already.
Yeah.
I visited both the sites, sir,
Yes,
in
yes, I
2008
know.
itself, sir.
You have written.
By the time excursion was going on,
Yes.
and I spent a whole day there only, but by that time only foreigners were there, sir.
Yes.
No
I
Indian artists,
no.
only foreigners were there. by
What was
that time.
happening? We were settling between Bilasargam and Jalapuram, Bilasargam and Jalapuram. Maybe you came and I came to Dharwar, where I was also teaching those days. So I had to come
Sir,
back to Dharwar.
sir, recently I came to know
Hmm.
a team from Tamil Nadu. They came and observed some rock art paintings in Kannur district only.
Hey, they are my students only. They were working with me. We trained them there. So in the Uppalapadu area, there are similar rock shelters with paintings. So they are from
see.
Chennai, Madras University.
Oh.
So my student by name Jeenu Koshi, because I told him, because I retired and I will not get funds and permission to survey. So you people can continue. So they are continuing survey, and he's there. He comes. He's been coming during the last several years.
Is that one of the largest sites in South India? They're telling next to Bhimbedka. Like
Yes,
that,
yes.
I have
Yeah.
read.
Rock shelters, not next to Bhimbedka. There's no need to compare, but the rock shelters with paintings, they are abundant in this area. There's no need to compare in terms of which is the largest and so on. But we have evidence of rock shelter paintings, rock paintings.
It is connected to Zureru, sir.
Zureru is a modern river. It's not an ancient river.
It is not connected to that one.
Connected to what?
Zureru Basin.
Connected
Rock
to
art
what?
paintings.
No.
Rock art paintings.
No.
Recently identified rock art paintings, what I am telling.
No. It's a landscape is important, not the river in this case.
Okay.
There, the rock art sites are more on the plateau rather than on the river bank.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for it.
Kolluru Sai Kumar. Kolluru Sai Kumar. Hello.
Seems to have
Where are
left.
you? అబ్బాయి మాట్లాడుతానన్నాడు, వెళ్ళిపోయింది. ఎవరైనా ఇంకా మీ ప్రశ్నలు ఉంటే కట్ట ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా చాట్లో?
దాంట్లో ఏం లేవు సార్.
No, not in the message box.
ఎవరైనా అభిప్రాయం చెప్పినా ప్రశ్నలు అడిగినా సరాసరి అడగచ్చు సార్.
మన టెక్లం సార్ ఉంటే బాగుండునని.
టెక్లం సార్ లేరు సార్, డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయ్యారు, ఏదైనా వేరే పని ఉంటుంది. ఇంకా మనకి బిఎం రెడ్డి సార్
సార్ బండి మురళీధర్ రెడ్డి సార్.
Well, thank you very much. So nice of you, Professor Ravi Kursetta, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to talk to you after a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, we were messaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
So nice. It was a wonderful presentation, I should say. But I had a very few opportunities to hear your presentations. So this is the one which I feel very glad. It's very so nice to know about these two sites, particularly and the worldwide famous sites.
Yeah.
About which you have been working, and that is this Kotha Telangana Charitra Brindam people are aware of those things which you have
Yeah.
done. And this your work of scientific work is very, very great, I should say. And everybody knows this, but
Yeah.
our Kotha Telangana people are I
Now
think.
that it is part of Andhra Pradesh, people in Telangana may not be interested.
So because we are in now the Kotha Telangana test this one lecture.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm repeating that. So, okay, Andhra Pradesh is there. It's erstwhile Andhra Pradesh total.
But we are sharing the basin, Kadapa basin, sir.
Right.
So nice. It's very, but I think this in similar way in Telangana also our members should try for this such type of sites to find. Maybe it's not the same site, same type of sites, but similar type of sites we may get.
They are there. What we need is to survey.
So I propose the Kotha Telangana Charitra Brindam members to look into these matters, and they should learn from your lecture how the work has to be done. And this, I think, I recommend them. And once again, thank you very much. So nice of you. So we will be in touch. Thank you very much. So nice.
It was a bit technical because I can't help it. The
Yeah,
subject is like that. So.
Yeah, this is a totally technical one. This totally technical, and the archaeology, geology, paleontology, everything is there. Na? So all subjects are covered in this. So one has to be there, and it's very difficult to work also in this such a way. So that you have done, that's a great thing. That's what I feel. So nice of you. Thank you very much for your
Welcome.
presentation. Bye. Thank
Sir,
you.
Murali Reddy, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir. For sir, Dr. Ravi, sir.
Yes, please.
We found one such site in near in Medak district, sir, on the banks of Manjira River.
Oh, there are many
Hastalpur
sites. There are many sites in Manjira.
Yeah.
Sir?
Manjira Valley is
Yes,
full
sir.
of sites.
One site I only found one site, that is where we found the volcanic ash deposit.
Okay.
They locally called as Budya Guttalu. And that actually,
Right.
site also has got a prehistoric rock art site. A big rock art site is there on the banks of that river. There is a small rivulet called Haridra, which joins actually Mandira.
Okay.
That's good.
So we have reported it, sir.
Actually, it is extension of what we call Bhima Basin. That is like Kurnool Basin. We have Bhima Basin.
Yes,
That in Medak district, it extends from Maharashtra, Godavari tributary to this. So
yes, sir.
There are a large number of sites in that area. Maharashtra region, Bidar in Karnataka, and then
yes, sir.
Medak and adjacent regions.
Well, it is Budya Guttalu in the Khammam district also. I came to know some of.
Yes, sir. They were actually documented, sir.
Yes.
Venugopal sir. Along the Murreru River near Kothagudem, there are some volcanic ash deposits are there.
Murredu as well as it in
these deposits were there. Nobody knew about them. Yeah. Nobody identified them as volcanic ash, because in 1888 I discovered volcanic ash in near Pune, the basaltic terrain. So when I discovered, nobody could believe that it is volcanic ash. Then we published our paper. The Geological Society, Survey of India took it very seriously. And then they started revisiting the sites where they had not identified this material at all. And it turned out to be a volcanic ash site. So now everywhere they are finding it. In Peninsular, in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, elsewhere.
Yeah, a lot of work has to be done in Telangana also in this regard. So that's why it would be a direction to the youngsters.
Yes. But unfortunately, the departments are not recruiting archaeologists, universities without any teachers, colleges, everything. There is a shortage of trained people. They are unemployed. People are more, but the vacancies are not being filled up.
That's all concerned to the governments now.
That is it.
Government department, but that's a problem.
But if you people can write to the government collectively regarding my, this development of Villasargam and all. I'm coming next week to Hyderabad and giving a similar talk in Osmania University
Okay.
I am Sivanagi Reddy Garu and myself. We are meeting the Lakshmi Group of Industries, Harishchandra Prasad, his family.
Okay.
I met them already, took them to the site a couple of months ago. They are
Okay.
now interested in helping me realize my, dream of developing a natural history museum in Billasarga.
It's good, good, good.
Yeah, and all of you are welcome to visit my museum in Bellary,
Yeah,
which
sure,
is,
sure.
yeah,
Sure, sure,
We will
sure.
try to
which
come
is
to
very, very now.
Yeah.
It has won me several awards in the last 1 year.
Yeah, yeah. Congrats.
And, yeah,
Yes, yes.
Let us know your visit date to Hyderabad, sir, so that we will be able to.
24th
yeah, I am there.
24th
24th morning, I am giving a talk in the Ancient History Department.
Acha, 24th.
Usman
24th.
University.
Usman University.
Yes.
Acha, acha. So nice, so nice.
సార్ మేము కూడా వస్తున్నాం. ప్రణయ్ కుమార్
Please.
అని ఇక్కడ సార్
Yeah, please come.
ఇక్కడ కనబడుతున్నాడు మత్త ప్రణయ్ కుమార్.
Okay.
He collected rock tools from the middle of the Haridra river, executed to the Manjiram.
Yeah. No, there is
We are
no.
going to bring them to you, sir. To
Please.
realize them, and we thought that they are from Paleolithic to Neolithic.
Yes. 24th morning, I am coming.
Yes, sir.
Morning session, I have that lecture in the university. Afternoon, I'm going with Dr. Reddy to our Harishchandra Prasad.
Sir, give us
Office.
a half an hour time to.
Yeah, please come there. I will be happy. You can say, I will give this talk again, but in a
Okay.
different way to the
Okay.
students, because they will require basics and all that.
Okay.
Right, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So nice, sir.
ఇంకేమైనా ప్రశ్నలు? ఒకటి ఏంటంటే సార్, ఇక్కడ టెక్నికల్ గా సబ్జెక్ట్ మీద మంచి అవగాహన ఉన్న వాళ్ళు లేరు. దే ఆర్ వెరీ అంత కొత్త వాళ్ళు, దే ఆర్ లెర్నర్.
Yeah.
టీమ్ లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళు అందరూ కూడా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ తో, ఆసక్తితో వినడానికి వచ్చినటువంటి వాళ్ళే. వాళ్ళకి అంటే ఇప్పుడు మా మురళీధర్ రెడ్డి సార్ లాగాను ఇట్లా వాళ్ళందరికీ అంత టెక్నికల్ నాలెడ్జ్ అంటే వీటికి సంబంధించిన ఎక్స్కవేషన్ టెక్నికల్ నాలెడ్జ్ లేదు. అందువల్ల జస్ట్ ఆర్ హియరింగ్ టు యూ ఓన్లీ, టు లెర్న్ ఫ్రమ్ యూ.
Please attend. If you know Miss Dr. Jayashree there, she will tell you the timing and all that.
Sir, today I met her, sir. She asked me to come to listen to your lecture.
Okay.
ఈ రోజు ఉంది కదా సార్, అలా వరల్డ్ హెరిటేజ్ డే ఉంది.
Okay.
అక్కడ మ్యూజియం లో ఒక ప్రోగ్రామ్ చేస్తున్నారు సార్.
Okay.
ఆ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లో అటెండ్ అయిన ఉంటుంది.
In fact, 3 years ago, she came to Bellary to celebrate Museum Day. We, along with our Keshav, that famous
Yes, sir.
Keshav, and we brought all the students along with Jayashree.
Okay.
They spent 1 day there and went to Hampi and all.
Okay, sir. Okay. Badragiri, sir. Sir, మనం కంక్లూడ్ చేద్దాం.
సార్ శ్యామ్ సుందర్ సార్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. శ్యామ్ సుందర్ సార్
మాట్లాడండి
సార్. మాట్లాడుతున్నారా శ్యామ్ సుందర్ సార్?
శ్యామ్ సుందర్ గారు.
Signal problem ఉన్నట్టుంది సార్, శ్యామ్ సార్.
His voice is breaking.
హలో. టెక్నికల్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉన్నది శ్యామ్ గారు.
బ్రేక్ అవుతూనే ఉంది సార్.
శ్యామ్ సుందర్ సార్, సిగ్నల్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉన్నట్టుంది, సరిగ్గా వాయిస్ వినపట్లేదు.
మెసేజ్ పెట్టండి. మెసేజ్ చూడు కట్ట.
అవును సార్.
You can use the chat box.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all of you. I am Dr. Kalyani from Vijayawada, sir, Andhra Loyola College.
Okay,
madam.
namaste.
I am audible, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
You are
Namaste,
audible,
sir.
madam.
Sir, today's session is a very valuable and very informative session, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We are learning so much new things, sir, today.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
I am colleague of Dr. Muva Srinivas Reddy, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam.
Sir, shall we conclude?
Sir, Bhadragirish garu. Bhadragirish sir.
సార్ హలో సార్.
మనం కంక్లూడ్ చేద్దాం. ఓట్ ఆఫ్ థ్యాంక్స్ చెప్పండి.
కొత్త తెలంగాణ చరిత్ర బృందం 60వ జూమ్ సమావేశానికి వచ్చిన అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుకుంటూ, ఈ సమావేశంలో మన 60 కార్యక్రమాలు నిర్వహించిన వివరాలన్నీ సమరైజ్ గా చెప్పిన కట్టా శ్రీనివాస్ గారికి, అలాగే ఇవాళ డాక్టర్ శివనాగిరెడ్డి గారు యాక్చువల్ గా మనకు డాక్టర్ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారి గురించి మనకు వివరాలు ఇవ్వాల్సి ఉండే. అంటే ఇవాళ హైదరాబాద్ లో కొంచెం వాతావరణం కూడా తేడాగా ఉంది. ఇందాకనే ప్రోగ్రామ్ స్టార్ట్ అయ్యే ముందే పెద్ద వర్షం పడింది. ఈదురుగాలు పెద్ద వర్షం, అంటే మనకు సమ్మర్ మధ్యలో పడ్డే వర్షాలు లాంటివి. దానివల్ల కొంచెం ఇబ్బంది అయ్యిండొచ్చు సార్ కనుక నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. మా ప్రాంతంలో జరిగింది. సో అది కాకుండా తర్వాత మా బిలసర్గం అత్యంత మా ప్రాచీన మానవ ఆవాసాలకు సంబంధించి అత్యంత ముఖ్యమైన సైట్స్ అయిన బిల్లసర్గం మరియు జ్వాలాపురం, ఈ రెండింటి గురించి మనకు డీటెయిల్డ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇచ్చి అన్ని వివరాలు అందజేసి చక్కటి ప్రసంగం చేసిన డాక్టర్ రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారికి, సో ఐ థ్యాంక్ ఎవ్రీబడి who has attended, and with special thanks to Dr. Ravi Korishettar, who has made an excellent presentation on the Bilasargam and Jalapuram sites. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
One more thing. కొల్లూరి సాయి కుమార్, తన వల్ల కరీంనగర్ నుండి ఎస్ఆర్ కాలేజ్ వాళ్ళను, తర్వాత తిరుపతి సందవేణి వాళ్ళను ఈరోజు మన దగ్గరికి ఈ సమావేశం వినడానికి చాలా పెద్ద సంఖ్యలో లెక్చరర్స్, ప్రొఫెసర్స్ మనది ఈ తెలంగాణ నుంచి కాదా బయట నుంచి కూడా చాలా మంది కూడా అటెండ్ అయినారు. మిగతా వారు ఆన్లైన్లో ఉన్నారు, యూట్యూబ్లో చూస్తూ ఉన్నారు. చాలామంది అట్లా పాల్గొనేటట్టు చేసినటువంటి మన బృందంలోని సభ్యులందరినీ కూడా నేను అభినందిస్తూ, వాళ్ళందరికీ నేను బృందం తరఫున, చరిత్ర బృందం తరఫున ప్రత్యేకంగా ధన్యవాదాలు చెప్తున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. ఇది ఈ సమావేశం ఇంతటితో ముగిద్దాం. మీ అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుస్తూ, మీ సహకారానికి మరి ఇదేంటంటే ఇది షష్ఠి పూర్తి సభ. మనకు చాలా అంతర్జాతీయ ప్రఖ్యాత పురావేత్త మనకు రవి కోరిశెట్టర్ గారు మనం అడిగిన వెంటనే మన మాటను ఏమంటారు కదా ఒప్పుకొని మనకి ప్రసంగం ఇచ్చినందుకు వారికి వెళ్ళలేని ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Can I leave?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.